Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Friday, November 1st, 2019. Why am I playing the song, you ask? That is because the Washington Nationals are your 2019 World Series champions. Well-deserved. They were the team of destiny these entire playoffs. They win Game 7 by a score of 6-2 in what was a very, very entertaining game. Patrick Corbin gets the win. Will Harris the loss. Bottom of the second, Astros take a 1-0 lead on a home run by Yuli Gurriel. Bottom of the fifth, RBI single, Carlos Correa makes it 2-0. Top of the seventh, home run, Anthony Rendon makes it 2-1. Go-ahead home run, Howie Kendrick makes it 3-2 Nats. Top of the eighth, RBI single, Juan Soto makes it 4-2. And in the top of the ninth, two-run single, Adam Eaton makes it a 6-2 final as the Washington Nationals are your 2019 World Series champions. Max Scherzer, 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Patrick Corbin, 3 innings, 2 hits, no home runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. And Daniel Hudson to close it out, an inning and 2 strikeouts. Meanwhile, for Houston, Zach Greinke, 6 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. His best game of the playoffs. Then A.J. Hinch pulls him for Will Harris instead of a Garrett Cole, who was available in 2 days' rest. 2 hits and an earned run. He obviously gave up that home run to Kendrick. Roberto Osuna, an inning and the third, 2 hits and a run, 2 walks, no strikeouts. Ryan Presley, a third of an inning, scoreless. And Joe Smith, a third of an inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, and a walk. So, there you have it. Your World Series champions are the Washington Nationals. What a great season. Now I'm going to do postmortems for each side. Washington, what's next for them? This may have been their window because Steven Strasburg, possible free agent. Anthony Rendon, a free agent. I think Howie Kendrick is a free agent, so they have a couple free agents. And that's not necessarily the best thing unless if you re-sign them. And kudos to the Nationals for taking advantage of their championship window. Meanwhile, Houston, this could be the end of their run in terms of a top threat to win the World Series because, as a free agent, the man who should have pitched those last couple innings of Game 7, that is Garrett Cole. So he's a free agent. Will Harris is a free agent. He was a reliable reliever all year until the World Series, where he completely faltered in my mind. You have a couple other free agents. Zach Greinke's back. Verlander's back. Jose Urquidy's going to slide into that rotation. He's a possible breakout guy for them next year. Lance McCullers Jr. back from Tommy John surgery. He'll be the number 3 starter. Urquidy will be 4. And do they re-sign Wade Miley? Or do they avoid him because of his disastrous finish to the season in which he got left off the ALCS and World Series rosters? So that's something to monitor going forward. And if you ask me who has a better chance of returning to the World Series next year, that's a tough one. I would say probably Houston, assuming that Urquidy makes a leap. McCullers is the McCullers of 2 years ago. And a couple other things need to break right. Greinke's good still. Verlander doesn't show his age. There's a couple things that need to break right for Houston to get back to the World Series. But I think it's more likely that they get back to Washington only because of the idea that they can lose both Rendon and Strasburg. And I think that the Astros can potentially overcome a Cole loss as long as if Oakland doesn't make necessary improvements that I'd like to see them make, or if the Yankees don't turn back into the Yankees of old and continue to penny pinch. So I think there's a chance that the Astros get back to the World Series, although it'll be tougher than normal. And the case for Washington is that the Braves don't bring back Josh Donaldson. Some of their pitchers don't break out next year. The Mets don't hire the right manager, and they don't improve their bullpen and offense. And if the Phillies don't improve their pitching staff, I think it's tougher for Washington to get back there because of the possible free agent losses of Rendon and Strasburg, and 3 teams in their own division that all could potentially be good teams next year. So I think Washington has a tougher path. And meanwhile, in Houston's division, I think Oakland has the best chance to unseat them in that division. If they have a flat-out disastrous offseason, meaning the Astros lose Cole, and a couple other things go wrong for them, and then Oakland just flat-out gets better. Joe Madden should help improve the Angels. Maybe they're a big spender. Maybe they sign Garrett Cole like a lot of people think that they will. Mariners are a couple years away, and then the Rangers just need some pitching. Maybe they're a dark horse to sign Garrett Cole in the offseason, because you know that they're going to be big spenders this offseason to try to be very good in year one in their new stadium. So I wouldn't rule out the Rangers in that division, but I think it's more likely that the NL East is better than the AL West next year. So that's why I'd argue Houston over Washington for next year. And I'm very, very interested to see what happens with these 2 teams. Okay, now we're going to talk about last night's football game as the 49ers defeated the Cardinals by a score of 28-25 as the Niners improved to 8-0. Arizona drops to 3-5-1. Jimmy Garoppolo with a career-high 4 touchdown passes on 317 yards, 28 of 37. Kyler Murray had some moments in this game, 17 of 24, 241 yards, and 2 touchdowns. To me, what defined this game and really swung it in the Niners' direction was that at the end of the first half, San Francisco went for it on 4th down, and the Cardinals initially get a stop, but Cliff Kingsbury called timeout, and after the play happened, the referees granted Cliff Kingsbury a timeout. And that was a really bad timeout by Cliff Kingsbury. It came back to bite him in the ass as the Niners scored right before the half to take a 2-touchdown lead. But I have to give the Cardinals some credit for being competitive in this game. I thought this game would be a little bit more competitive than people expected. But my play for this game was the under. I believe it was 43.5. But it obviously did not hit because both offenses looked very good in this game. We'll get to the picks for week number 9, or I should say the rest of the picks, in a little while. Okay, now college football. 2 games last night between Big 12 game and then Sun Belt. There was an unbeaten featured in each of them. And in one of them, the unbeaten went down. Now is Appalachian State, who fell short to Georgia Southern 24-21. Georgia Southern's had Appalachian State's number over the last few years. Georgia Southern's 5-3, App State's 7-1. So a very good win for Georgia Southern. They're likely to make a bowl game now. Meanwhile, Appalachian State might have cost themselves a New Year's Six Bowl with this loss. Now I think the favorite to get it is the winner of Saturday night's SMU Memphis game. So just a bad loss for Appalachian State. They were laying 14.5. That was my podcast play that I never gave out yesterday, and that was obviously a loser. I went 0 for 3 yesterday on podcast plays, by the way. So that's not good at all in terms of football. And a number 12 Baylor defeated West Virginia 17-14. This game was a lot more competitive than I expected. That's credit Neil Brown and the West Virginia players for getting up for this one. That team is really going to be a pain in the ass in the Big 12 and being competitive as the season comes to a close. That's a team that, in my opinion, future's very bright. And by the way, Baylor now 8-0, West Virginia's 3-5. And like I said, West Virginia deserves credit for keeping this competitive conference road game. It's tough. Baylor, obviously, still undefeated. College football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday. I obviously make predictions for the rankings on Tuesday's podcast. College basketball starts on Tuesday, so Monday night, you'll be getting my college basketball mega preview and predictions podcast, so that's going to be fun. So Baylor remains unbeaten, and West Virginia shows a little bit of fight here on Halloween night. Next up, the NBA. We're going to go over the results from the past 2 nights because obviously we did not have a show yesterday. 76ers over the Timberwolves 117-95. Philly 4-0, Minnesota 3-1. The story of this game is that Joel Embiid and Karl-Anthony Towns each were suspended for 2 games because of an altercation that saw some punches. And I believe that Ben Simmons was involved as well, but he didn't get in trouble. Cavaliers over the Bulls 117-111. A nice win for Cleveland. They're 2-2. Chicago's 1-4. Magic over the Knicks 95-83. Orlando 2-2. New York 1-4. Raptors over the Pistons 125-113. Toronto 4-1. Detroit 2-3. Celtics over the Bucks 116-105. This was my best podcast play for Wednesday in terms of NBA. That came through. I just love the Celtics as an underdog at home, despite no Jaylen Brown. Boston's 3-1. Milwaukee's 2-2. Pacers over the Nets 118-108. Indiana 1-3. Brooklyn 1-3. A very disappointing loss for Brooklyn. Trailblazers over the Thunder 102-99. Portland 3-2. Orlando 1-4. Rockets over the Wizards 159-158. This was a crazy game. Ironically, these 2 cities' baseball teams are obviously in the World Series, and then this crazy game goes on between these 2 cities. It's basketball teams. Houston 3-1. Washington 1-3. Bradley Beal and James Harden went off. Jazz over the Clippers 110-96. Utah 4-1. Clippers 3-2. Hornets over the Kings 118-111. Hornets 2-3. Sacramento 0-5. Sacramento's been a disaster so far. No Marvin Bagley. Luke Walton really is proven to be a little overrated, it looks like. Suns over the Warriors 121-110. A very impressive win for the Phoenix Suns. They're 3-2. Golden State 1-3. Last night's games. Heat over the Hawks 106-97. So the Heat are 2-0 against the Hawks this year, and they're 4-1 the season. And Atlanta is 2-3. Pelicans over the Nuggets 122-107. My best play for this game was the over in this game, or for last night, and that hit. New Orleans 1-4. They get their first win of the season. Much needed win for them, and Denver is 3-2. Clippers over Spurs 103-97. Clippers 4-2. San Antonio 3-1. Tonight's slate, 7 o'clock ESPN, Rockets at the Nets. Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy on the call. Should be a competitive game. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, some star power. I'm going to take Brooklyn to pull off the home upset here. The Rocket defense wasn't all that impressive against the Wizards, and the Nets are a better team than the Wizards. So give me Brooklyn to pull off a home upset here to get a really much-needed home win against a good team. So give me Brooklyn getting the 4.5, and I think they win the game outright on the court. Cavs, Pacers, Bucks, Magic, 7:30 Knicks, Celtics, 8 o'clock Pistons, Bulls, 9:30 ESPN, Lakers, Mavericks, Ryan Ruocco on the call with, I believe, Hubie Brown. I'm not 100% sure about that. Should be a fun game between these 2 teams. Luka Doncic has been spectacular to start the season. He's the peacock, their 3-1 start. Porzingis hasn't really shot the ball well. And he's done some things. Well, he's shown flashes of the player he was with the Knicks. But he hasn't really put it all together yet. Meanwhile, the Lakers are rolling. They're playing really good ball. Anthony Davis is off to a great start. Had a 40-point game the other day. LeBron, still LeBron. I think the Lakers get it done on the road tonight. They're only giving 1.5. I think the Lakers should be favored by 4. And I think that the Lakers might win this game by double digits. And I understand it's a trap game, yada, yada. But I really like LA here to win here by double digits to really make a statement on national television. 10 o'clock Jazz Kings, 10:30 Spurs at the Warriors. And then The weekend games, Saturday night, 5 o'clock, Pelicans Thunder, 7 o'clock, Nets at the Pistons, NBA TV, Nuggets at the Magic, 8 o'clock Saturday night, Raptors, Bucks, Suns, Grizzlies, Timberwolves, Wizards, 8:30, Hornets, Warriors, 10 o'clock NBA TV, 76ers, and the Blazers. Sunday's games, Bulls, Pacers at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, Rockets, Heat, Kings, Knicks, 7 o'clock, Lakers, Spurs, Mavericks, Clippers at 7:30, and at 9 o'clock, the Jazz at the Clippers. Or I'm sorry, Mavericks, Cavaliers is at 7:30. I thought that's the Clippers. Oops. Next up, the NHL. We're going to go over the results from the last two nights and look ahead to the weekend's games. Wednesday night, Lightning over the Devils 7-6 in overtime. Tampa 6-4-2, Devils 2-5-3. Oilers over the Blue Jackets 4-1. Edmonton 9-4-1. Columbus 5-5-2. Wild fall short at the Blues 2-1. Blues 7-3-3. Wild 4-9. Panthers over the Avalanche 4-3 in overtime. That's a really good win for Joel Quenneville's team. 6-3-4 in the year. Colorado's 8-2-2. Canadiens over the Coyotes 4-1. The Habs are 6-4-2. Arizona 7-4-1. Canucks over the Kings 5-3. Vancouver 8-3-1. LA 4-9. Last night only two games. Flames over the Predators 6-5 in overtime. Calgary 7-6-2. Nashville 8-3-2. And the Canadiens over the Golden Knights 5-4 in overtime. That was a great game. Great win by Montreal. They're 7-4-2. Vegas 8-5-1. Tonight's slate, 7 o'clock, Flyers at the Devils, Lightning at the Islanders, Sabres at the Capitals, 7:30, Red Wings at the Hurricanes, 8 o'clock, Blue Jackets at the Blues, 9 o'clock, Stars at the Avalanche, 10 o'clock, Canucks at the Ducks, 10:30, Jets at the Sharks. Saturday, 1 o'clock, Oilers, Penguins, 2 o'clock, Rangers, Predators, 7 o'clock at night, Senators, Bruins, Islanders, Sabres, Red Wings, Panthers, Maple Leafs, Flyers, Devils, Hurricanes, Flames, Blue Jackets, Canadiens, Stars, 8 o'clock, Blues, Wild, 9 o'clock, Avalanche, Coyotes, 10 o'clock, Jets, Golden Knights, Canucks, Sharks, 10:30, Blackhawks, Kings. Sunday, only two games, 7 o'clock, Flames at the Capitals, and the Blackhawks at the Ducks at 8 o'clock. Before we get to the picks for week number 9 in NFL and week number 10 in college football, some sad NBA news. Stephen Curry will be out for 4 to 6 weeks with a broken hand. That is a big loss for the Golden State Warriors and a big loss for the NBA. Everyone's writing their season off with this injury. If he's back in 4 weeks and let's say that they get hot for a little while, I don't want to say season's over for them. They just have too much respect for that organization. But that was a terrible loss at home against the Suns the other day. And they got blown out at Oklahoma City Thunder. And then they got blown out in the home opener against the Clippers. And then they rallied around at New Orleans, won that game. But Drew Holiday was hurt in that game, and so was Zion, obviously. So if Zion's there, the Pelicans are probably more competitive. Who knows? Maybe the Pelicans win if Zion and Drew Holiday are there. So they took advantage of two key New Orleans injuries in that game. So they have obviously been the most disappointing team in the league, and now they get a pass because their best player, Stephen Curry, out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken hand. And it's just a big loss for this team. And let's say they are a team that decides to tank this season. They obviously get their pick. It's in the top 20, protected, because they had to send it to Brooklyn for Kevin Durant in the D'Angelo Russell deal. I think there should have been a pick swap in that deal, by the way. Because I think the Warriors should have gotten something for Durant. And, they just got Russell they should have gotten more than just Russell in that deal. But anyway, they could potentially tank and they get a top 10 lottery pick, top 5 pick to pair with Curry, Thompson, Draymond next year. But you never know what the pick is going to be. Or if they decide to package that pick with D'Angelo Russell to a team that has an unhappy star and that star player comes to the Warriors to play with Curry and Clay and Draymond, it would obviously have to be a small forward. Let's say, for example, who's a star player that I could see being on the move, potentially? I know, obviously, Giannis is a free agent in 2021. Maybe they would like to clear cap space for that, potentially. But trying to think of a small forward that could be had, potentially, that could be worth Russell and the first. And Giannis would make sense for that, but the Bucks are good, and Giannis is a free agent after 2021, not after 2020. So the Warriors have some options if they decide to tank, and it should be an interesting storyline to watch these next couple weeks with the Golden State Warriors. Okay, now we're going to do picks for college football for week number 10. These numbers are courtesy of DraftKings in terms of the gambling numbers. I'm going to inform you guys whenever one of my best 5 plays comes up in terms of both college and the NFL, 5 each. So let's start with tonight. Navy at UConn. Navy's giving 26. The over-under is 53.5. I'm going to take the over. This is somehow going down, and the juice is on the over with the 53.5. It was at 56.5 and went down 3 points. So Navy wins on the field, over 53.5. Saturday, you have Illinois against Rutgers from Illinois, as I believe Illinois is giving, I want to say 21 points. Or that's a 3:30 game, so we'll get to that eventually. So, Michigan at Maryland. Michigan is laying 21 points. The over-under is 56. I love Maryland getting the 21. I don't get this number at all. And I got Maryland earlier in the week at 18.5. It went up, and I'd love to grab it again because Maryland should be able to cover. Letdown spot for Michigan. So give me Maryland getting 21 points, although I do fully expect the Wolverines to win this game. I'm going to say they win by 14 points rather than 28 points. And I think there's a chance that this could be this year's version of the Ohio State-Maryland game from last year when, obviously, the Buckeyes almost lost outright to Maryland. Houston at UCF. UCF is giving 22. The over-under is 70.5. Give me the over here. And I got it at 69.5. It's up to 70.5. This is one of my best 5 plays of the weekend. So give me the Houston UCF over 70.5. I think UCF obviously wins the ball game. Next up is Nebraska at Purdue. Nebraska's giving 3.5. The over-under is 58.5. This one was tough to handicap a little bit in terms of a side. Let's take the over here at 58.5. I think they go over. And I'm tempted to say that Purdue wins the game outright. So give me Purdue to win the game, but my better play here is over 58.5. UTSA at Texas A&M. A&M's laying 38.5. The over-under is 53.5. Give me the under here at 53.5. A&M will obviously win, but I think they win like 40-7 or something like that. Northern Illinois, Central Michigan. Northern Illinois is laying a point. The over-under is 49.5. Give me Central Michigan getting the point. They're minus 106 on a money line. They'll win outright. Boston College at Syracuse. Syracuse is laying 3.5. The over-under is 60. If Boston College finds a way to win this game, I believe they're a bowl team, and the same could be said for the Orange. I think the winner of this game gets a bowl game, and I think the winner of this game will be the Orange, but my play here will be the under because Syracuse's offense really isn't all that special, and obviously Boston College is missing their starting quarterback. So give me under 60, Syracuse wins. Old Dominion and Florida Atlantic, FIU's laying 17. The over-under is 49. I'm going to lay the 17 with FIU. Betting against Old Dominion has done me wonders this year. Buffalo at Eastern Michigan. Buffalo's laying 1. The over-under is 50. Give me Eastern Michigan getting the point. I think they win the game outright. They're minus 106 on the money line. I know that I'm probably going to get burned on one of these short home favorites in the MAC. I was burned last week as well. But I just like these home teams to step up here. So give me Eastern Michigan getting 1. They'll win outright. NC State at Wake Forest. Wake's laying 7.5. The over-under is 60.5. Give me NC State getting the points. The juice is on them at minus 115. I think NC State can actually win this game outright, but I don't think they will. I think Wake Forest will win, but NC State covers. Liberty at UMass. Liberty's laying 23.5. The over-under is 69.5. This is an auto over for me. I got it at 68 and went up to 69.5. So give me the over in Liberty UMass with Liberty winning the game. Next up at 2 o'clock, Akron against Bowling Green. Bowling Green's laying 5.5. The over-under 61. Give me the over at 51. It was 49. It went up to 51. Bowling Green will win, but I just don't know who will cover. But I like the over here, and I feel better about that. Next up at 2:30, Virginia Tech at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's laying 17.5. The over-under is 59. Give me Virginia Tech getting the points. I just think this is a closer than expected game. Notre Dame wins, but I think they win by, let's say, 11. Like, I could see this being 35-24. So that would mean Virginia Tech would cover. But the other thing that means is that score would mean it's going to be a push when it comes to the over-under. 3 o'clock, Troy at Coastal Carolina. Troy's laying 1. The over-under 61.5. Give me Troy minus the point. I actually got it earlier in the week when Troy was getting the point. The under 61.5 is enticing as well. But give me the -1 with Troy. I think they win this game by a touchdown. 3:30, Georgia at Florida. Florida is getting 6.5. The over-under is 45. I love the under here. Georgia wins, but I like the under. I think Georgia wins like a 20-16 ball game or something like that. Miami at Florida State. Florida State's giving 3. The over-under is 49. Give you the Seminoles minus the 3. Well, too much Miami buzz. And this feels like a spot where they're going to lose after winning last week. So give me Florida minus the 3. TCU at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's laying 2.5. The over-under is 59. I'm taking the Cowboys here minus the 2.5. I hope it doesn't burn me here. TCU coming off the upset win, or not upset win, but it's fun. Some spots they were favored, but that big win over Texas, it kind of felt like an upset win, but it kind of wasn't because they were favored in some spots. But anyway, give me the Cowboys here minus the 2.5. I don't feel good about it. And by the way, the FSU minus 3 is one of my best plays. Kansas State at Kansas. Kansas State is laying 5. The over-under is 54.5. I'm going to take the over 54.5 here. I think that both these teams are going to score and score and score. That crowd's going to be ruckus in Lawrence after Kansas upset Texas Tech last week. So maybe Kansas pulls off another upset and gets their 3rd win, and that program is going to actually be solid one day. And it's probably not going to be this year, but it's in a better place now than it was a year ago with Les Miles in charge. But I like the over here, but I think the Wildcats find a way to win. UNLV at Colorado State. Colorado State's laying 7.5. The over-under is 66.5. Give me UNLV getting the points. I think they win the game outright. They are plus 245 on the money line. So give me UNLV to win the game outright. Marshall at Rice. Marshall's laying 11. The over-under is 48. Give me Marshall minus the 11. Betting against Rice has done me wonders this season. Arkansas State at UL Monroe. Ark State's laying 2.5. The over-under is 67.5. Give me UL Monroe getting the points, and I think they win outright. Plus 108 on the money line. Army at Air Force. Air Force is giving 15.5. The over-under is 45.5. Give me Air Force here minus the points. They just have been better than Army this year. Army's the most disappointing team perhaps in the country this year. So give me Army minus the points. Middle Tennessee is Charlotte. Charlotte's getting 3.5. The over-under 64.5. Give me Charlotte plus the points. I think they win the game outright. Plus 128 on the money line. UTEP at North Texas. North Texas is laying 23.5. The over-under is 60. This one was a tough gauge in terms of a pick. Give me the under. UTEP doesn't score. They really can't do anything offensively. I think North Texas can win this game 43-6. Next up at 4 o'clock, Utah at Washington. Utah's giving 3.5. The over-under is 47. Give me Washington plus the 3.5. They're winning the game outright, plus 135 on the money line as Utah's playoff hopes die. Tulsa at Tulane. Tulane's laying 10. The over-under is 60. Give me Tulane minus the 10. It's one of my best plays of the weekend. I just think they're better than Tulsa. I think they win this game by 17. Mississippi State at Arkansas. Mississippi State's laying 7.5. The over-under is 59. This was another tough one. Give me the over here. I think both of these teams are going to score some points. Arkansas is not a good defensive team. Well, neither is Mississippi State. I think that the Bulldogs win this game 35-33 or 38-32 or some wacky score like that. Florida Atlantic at Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's laying 1.5. The over-under is 51. This line has been going, I believe, in the favor of FAU. I am going to take the Hilltoppers here, minus 1.5. It went down from 3. Everybody loves FAU, but I'm taking Western Kentucky. They've been a pleasant surprise this year. They're going to make a bowl game after many people thought that they're going to be a last-place team. So give me Western Kentucky minus the 1.5. Pitt at Georgia Tech. Pitt's laying 7. The over-under is 43. Give me Pitt minus the 7. They're better than Georgia Tech. Next up, 4:30, Arizona hosts Arkansas State. Or Oregon State, my bad. Arizona's laying 5.5. The over-under 71.5. Give me the Beavers. Yes. The Oregon State Beavers. Getting the 5.5. I do not think they'll win the game outright, but I just think that's a lot of points. And I could see them winning the game outright, although I'm not sure if they will or not. I'm going to say Arizona wins, but they cover. And they've been a pleasant surprise this year. I'm talking about the Beavers of Oregon State. So give me Oregon State getting the 5.5. Next up at 5 o'clock, Wofford at Clemson. Clemson's giving 46.5. The over-under is 58. Give me the under. I think that Clemson's going to be conservative in this game. The value's on the over at minus 103, but the under's minus 120. I just think that's the best play here. So give me the Wofford Clemson under. I think this is a 50-0 Clemson win potentially. 7 o'clock, Ole Miss at Auburn. Auburn's laying 19.5. The over-under is 52.5. Give me Auburn minus the points. I just think they're better than Ole Miss. They're going to score a lot of points. They're going to get to the quarterback of Ole Miss. I'm talking about their pass rush. So give me Auburn. I think that they can win this game 38-16 or something like that. UAB at Tennessee. Tennessee's giving 13.5. The over-under is 48. Give me UAB getting to 13.5. Do I think they win the game outright? Probably not. So just give me UAB to cover the point spread. The Tennessee to win. Northwestern and Indiana. Indiana's giving 10.5. The over-under is 43.5. Give me the under in this game. I think Northwestern can be competitive, so that's why I don't want to touch the number in terms of a team. But instead, I'm going to go with the total at the under at 43.5. I got it earlier in the week at 46.5. Went down 3 points. I'm going to say that Indiana wins this game like 30-10 or something like that, or 27-13. 27-13 sounds realistic. Cincinnati at East Carolina. Cincinnati's giving 24. The over-under is 47.5. I like the under here. It went down. It was at 49. I got it at. It went down to 47.5. Cincinnati's a good defensive team. You know, East Carolina's offense is underachieved in a major way. I'm going to say Cincinnati wins a game like 30-10, 30-13, or something like that. Next up, 7:30, SMU Memphis. Memphis is giving 6. The over-under 71.5. One of my best plays of the weekend is over 71.5 for SMU Memphis. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. Both offenses are going to be humming. I don't think you'll see many punts in this game. I'm going to say that Memphis wins a very good game. I'm going to say they win like 45-40. So SMU plus the 6 is actually kind of valuable as well. But I like the over better because I think there's a chance Memphis wins by double digits. So give me over 71.5. Virginia at North Carolina. UNC's laying 2.5. The over-under is 47. I love Virginia getting the points. I hope this isn't the same situation that I ran into a few weeks ago with them in Miami. But I'm doing it here. Getting the 2.5. It's minus 115. Plus 110 on the money line. Give me Virginia. I think that the Tar Heels are overvalued. Vanderbilt at South Carolina. South Carolina's giving 15. The over-under is 51.5. Give me the under 51.5. I like that I got the hook there. I got it at 51, but it went up for the hook. So, give me the under 51.5. I'm going to say South Carolina wins this game like a 27-17 or something like that. 8 o'clock, Oregon at USC. Oregon's laying 4.5. The over-under is 62. I love the Trojans getting the 4.5. One of my best plays of the weekend. I think they win the game outright. Plus 163 on the money line. Fight on. 9 o'clock, Colorado, UCLA. UCLA is giving 6.5. The over-under is 65. Give me the over here. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think Colorado's offense finally comes out of its funk. They'll put up some points. I think this game could be competitive. I'm going to say UCLA wins this game like 37-30. So give me the over 65. Next up, 10 o'clock, BYU at Utah State. Utah State's giving 3.5. The over-under is 50.5. I'm going to be contrarian here and take the minus 3.5 with Utah State. The money is going towards BYU. The juice is at minus 124. And it's plus value at the minus 3.5 at plus 102 with the Aggies. I'm going to say that they win this game potentially by double digits. So give me Utah State in a contrarian play, minus the 3.5. 10:30, Boise State at San Jose State. Boise State's laying 17. The over-under is 59.5. Give me San Jose State getting 17. They've been a pleasant surprise this year. They're probably going to make a bowl game. Do I think they're going to win this game? No, but I just think they're going to stay within the 17. I'm going to say Boise State wins by 11. New Mexico at Nevada. Nevada's laying 40. Over-under is 58. Give me the over here at 58. Went down from 59 for whatever reason. I think that both of these teams are going to score. Nevada wins. I'm going to say something like a 41-37 type of game. And that's why I stayed away from the number in terms of a team because I think this could be a push. And last but not least, Fresno State at Hawaii. Hawaii's laying 2.5. The over-under is 70. Give me Hawaii minus 2.5. Fresno's been a major disappointment this year. Although you could argue bounce back spot. But no, they're on the road. Honolulu's going to be rocking. So give me Hawaii minus the 2.5. And that's it for the college side of things. And now we're going to go to the NFL side of things. Last night, I took the under in the Cardinal 49er game. That did not work out. Now, let's switch it over to Sunday. Houston at Jacksonville. Houston is laying 1.5. The over-under is 46.5. Houston, obviously, coming off what was a nice win over the Raiders. Jacksonville coming off a performance against the Jets in which they won. I'm going to take Houston minus the 1.5. By the way, the game's in London. I misspoke about that one. I said it was at Jacksonville. But no, it's in London. It's a 9:30 kickoff on the NFL Network. So, give me the Houston Texans minus 1.5. It's one of my best plays of the weekend. I just think that Gardner Minshew isn't a franchise quarterback, and Deshaun Watson is. And by the way, I did skip a college pick, the Illinois Rutgers, which I promised that I was going to get to. It was a 3:30 game. I'm going to take the over 49.5 for Rutgers, Illinois, as Illinois is giving 20.5. But I like the over. I think that Rutgers offense found a little something last week against Liberty, and I think that they can put up at least 20 points. And then obviously, I could see the Illinois scoring 30 or more. So there you go. So back to the NFL. Houston minus the 1.5. It's one of my best plays. 1 o'clock, you have the Chiefs hosting the Vikings. Minnesota coming off the Thursday night win over the Redskins. The Chiefs coming off that Sunday night home loss against the Packers. I don't love Kirk Cousins on the road, and I get it, Matt Moore starting, but Matt Moore has looked good these past 2 weeks, and if the Vikings win, I'm going to really, really be mad at myself. Or if the Vikings cover. I'll rephrase it that way. If the Vikings cover, I'm going to be mad at myself for buying into Matt Moore. Unless if it's the Chiefs' defense that costs them the game, just like it did against the Packers. So Minnesota's giving 2.5. The over-under is 48.5. I am going to hold my nose and take the Kansas City Chiefs as a 2.5-point underdog to win the game outright, plus 114 on the money line. 23-20, Harrison Butker kicks the game-winning field goal, potentially as time expires. Wouldn't rule out an overtime game here. Washington at Buffalo. Buffalo coming off a bad home loss against the Eagles. Redskins coming off the Thursday night game against the Vikings. Dwayne Haskins is finally getting his first start here. The Bills are giving 10.5. The over-under is 36. I am going to take the under here. It went down from 37 where I got it. It went down to 36. I think the Bills win 23-13. And that would mean a push. Alright, I'm going to instead make my pick Washington plus 10.5 with Haskins. I don't feel good about that at all. Bears at the Eagles. Eagles laying 40 over under 41.5. The Eagles obviously coming off the big win in Buffalo. Bears coming off the disastrous performance by Trubisky. A bad home loss against the Chargers. I think this is going to be a close game because of the Bears' defense. I'm mad at myself because the spread went down to 4. And I have this as a 4-point game. Instead, I'm going to take the under 41.5 for the picks. I'm going to say the Eagles win 20-16. Colts at the Steelers. The Colts are laying 1.5. The over under 41.5. The Colts are coming off that home win over the Broncos in which they kind of look sloppy. The Steelers coming off the Monday night win over the Dolphins. I was leaning Colts the whole week. It scares the living hell out of me that T.Y. Hilton is hurt. So you know what? Upset special. Give me the Steelers getting the 1.5. I'm going to go back to my original pick from what I thought was going to happen, and then I changed my mind with the Colts because of how bad they looked last week. But T.Y. Hilton's out. That hurts that offense tremendously. I don't trust those receivers. I think this injury can potentially cost the Colts a playoff spot. So, give me the Steelers 1.5. They're plus 102 on the money line. They win the game outright. I'm going to say that Pittsburgh wins by a score of, let's go 21 to 16 Steelers. I hate making changes to picks on the fly. It's because I think T.Y. Hilton is so important to the Colts and their success. Jets at the Dolphins. The Jets are giving 3.5. The over-under is 42.5. The Jets are coming off that disastrous loss in Jacksonville. Sam Darnold did not look good. Dolphins coming off a loss against the Steelers in which they were competitive. I am going to take the under 42.5. I'm going to say the Jets win this game 16-13. Titans at the Panthers. Panthers laying 3.5. The over-under is 41.5. Titans coming off a home win over the Bucs. Panthers coming off that disastrous road loss in San Francisco against the 49ers. I think this is a nice bounce-back spot for Carolina. The juice is on them at minus 112 at giving 3.5. It's one of my best plays of the weekend. I think the Panthers win this game 26-16 as Kyle Allen bounces back from his disastrous performance. 4:05. Seahawks hosting the Bucs. Seahawks giving 5.5. The over-under 53. Bucs coming off that loss in Tennessee. Seahawks coming off that loss. They won at Atlanta last week. I'm thinking that the Raven game was last week, but no. They won at Atlanta last week, and they didn't even cover. It's kind of salty about that. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and take them giving the 5.5. The juice is on Tampa getting the 5.5 at minus 115. I'm going to be contrarian here and take the Seahawks minus 5.5. I think they're the better team as Jameis Winston continues to turn the ball over, and there are going to be talks about him being benched. So give me Seattle to win this game by 30-17 as Russell Wilson continues his MVP push. Lions at the Raiders. Raiders giving 2.5. The over under 50.5. Detroit coming off the win over the Giants. Oakland coming off a road loss against the Houston Texans in which they are competitive. I'm going to take the minus 2.5 with the Raiders here. It's one of my best 5 plays of the weekend for the NFL. I think that Derek Carr and that offense gets going. I think the Lions will hang around. They'll score points. But that Oakland Coliseum is going to be rocking, and I think the Raiders get the win here, 33-27. Green Bay at the Chargers at 4.25. Green Bay's minus 3.5. The over-under is 47.5. I love the Packers minus the 3.5. They are minus 108. And that is some value on the Packers at minus 3.5. I love it. The Packers are my lock. They're coming off the win over the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Chargers coming off a win over the Bears in a game that it was more of a Bears loss than a Chargers win. The Chargers had no business winning that game because that was just inept Bears, inept Mitch Trubisky. And they'll prove it in this game as Green Bay is going to come out there and dominate. So give me 34-20 Green Bay, and I'm going to say it's 34-20 because I'm going to say the Chargers get garbage time points at the end. So I love the Packers minus 3.5. They're my survivor pool pick for the week. They're my lock, and I love them. And it's one of my best 5 plays of the weekend. That includes that. The Broncos host the Browns. Browns giving 3.5. The over-under 39. The Browns are coming off the bad loss in New England against the Patriots. Denver coming off the loss in Indianapolis against the Colts. Joe Flacco's out 4 to 6 weeks due to a collarbone injury. Or it might be shoulder. I don't remember. But he's out with an injury. Brandon Allen making his first start. So what does that mean? Under. And I don't even trust the Browns to cover the point spread all that much. I have 20-10 Browns written down here as my score. But I love the under 39. And I think the Browns defense will step up for once against a weak offense. I think that Myles Garrett has a coming out party. So give me the under 39. Browns win 20-10. In my opinion, the best game of the weekend, New England at Baltimore. Baltimore giving 3, the over under 44.5. Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya on the call. Patriots coming off the win over the Browns. Ravens coming off their bye, I think. Did they just have a bye? Yeah, I think the Ravens just had a bye, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Ravens did have a bye last week. And guess what? I think the Ravens are winning this game outright. Give me the 3 points. Ravens win 24-20. And the Patriots get their first loss of the year, and I'll have a new number 1 in my power rankings. And Monday Night Football, Cowboys-Giants. Cowboys giving 7.5, the over under 47.5. Cowboys coming off their bye 2 weeks ago. They had the big win at home against the Eagles. Giants coming off a loss against the Lions, in which they covered a point spread. I think the back door is going to be open here, so give me the Giants getting 7.5. I think this line's too high. I don't trust the Cowboys covering that big of a number on the road. We saw them lose outright in the same stadium a few weeks ago against the worser Jets, meaning worser than the Giants, in the Jets. So give me the Giants getting 7.5. I think they can win the game outright. They're plus 280 on the money line. I don't think they'll win the game outright. I think that Pat Shurmur will do something stupid to cost them the game. So 27-24 Cowboys as my final score prediction. Brett Maher kicks a field goal late to put it away, and Giant fans and the media will be calling for Pat Shurmur's job, just like they are doing with the other team in town with Adam Gase. Now, my best bet of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. We're going to go to college football. We'll take Navy against UConn. We'll go to the NBA. We will take the Pacers against the Cavs, bounce back spot. We'll take the Celtics against the Knicks. We will take the Jazz at the Kings, the Spurs at Golden State. That's so weird we're taking a team at Golden State of best bet. Who would have ever thought that before the season? And then in hockey, do I like any of these? For today, the Hurricanes against the Red Wings I like. And I like the Blues at home against the Blue Jackets. We'll go with those two. A shade above 6-1. Wagering $1. Payout of $7.14. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back on Monday recapping all the events from the weekend and any other news that breaks in the world of sports. Hope you guys have a great weekend, everybody.